Welcome to @MarketingKitchen TV Q&A Live. All you need to do is go to @MarketingKitchen TV on Twitter, use the hashtag Q&A, and I will answer your questions here. Welcome, marketing chefs. I've got something truly special cooking in our Omni-Channel oven today. Bonus Chapter 7. Up next in the Marketing Kitchen. Welcome to the kitchen, the Marketing Kitchen. Hi, I'm Ron Vining, your host of Marketing Kitchen TV. Welcome to @MarketingKitchen TV Q&A Live. All you need to do is go to @MarketingKitchen TV on Twitter, use the hashtag Q&A, and I will answer your questions here. Welcome back for 7 of 8. That's right, this is the 7th in our 8-part series. Originally it was going to be 6 of 6, but it's been blown out to 8. So this is bonus chapter number 7. Okay, I'm back, and hopefully you're back here with me. This is a bonus video. So we already did chapter 6 for 6, and I decided that there's more questions that need to be answered here, so I'm going to do a lightning round and do a video 7 and a video 8. So it'll end up being, we'll end up having what should have been 6 of 6, will end up being 8 of 8. But this is 7 of 8, okay? So let me take the first question. I'm going to answer these quickly. That's the objective here. So this is going to be lightning round. It's not going to be like the others. Let's see how we go with this. I would love to hear, Xander is curating this question. I would love to hear more on this question. Is delivery versus pickup the only difference between giants like Amazon and Walmart? This seems to be a question I've had myself that seems extremely relevant given these times. Okay, great. Good curation there. And the original question that Alexander asked is, online marketplaces are the best way to get your product noticed by new customers. However, is delivery versus pickup the only difference between giants like Amazon and Walmart? Okay, great. The two of you, that's an excellent question. And oh no, this is lightning round. How do I answer this one quickly? First of all, the lines of these are a little bit more blurred than what you first think about. Walmart is actually the second largest e-commerce player on the planet, and they're not far behind Amazon. You may or may not realize that. Walmart has spent a lot of time, and they've done a lot of work with Google to be the second largest e-commerce platform on the planet. So they will either mail products to you, or you can go and you can pick them up. You could pick them up in store, or you actually see them in store and that you buy them. But there's a giant Walmart marketplace where Walmart is selling not just their own products, they're selling other people's products in their marketplace, just like Amazon is doing. All right, I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not. And the gray area gets even grayer because whether you know it or not, I think you do, Amazon now, in partnerships with different postal facilities, in partnerships with UPS, and also in partnerships with Kohl's, and as well as having their own retail locations and stores, is becoming more and more like a traditional retailer. And there actually was a point in time, and Amazon is still considering it, buying up a lot of the real estate space that was left by players like Sears and Kmart, the same company, and buying their location and putting in Amazon stores or doing smaller stores. And perhaps if you've been to Linfield, if you've been to the marketplace that's up there, there's an Amazon store. So there's an example of that. And of course, Amazon owns Whole Foods, and Whole Foods has been selling some additional products as well. So just thought I would share that out there. So is the difference really about delivery versus pickup? Is that the only difference between those particular giants? No. So hopefully I think I highlighted that. It's about branding, I guess, and that because of the fact that Amazon is seen differently in the marketplace than Walmart is. I don't know what your perception is of Walmart, actually. Do you see Walmart as being between, let's say, a Target and a Walmart, who do you see as being more upscale? I know I have my impression. I don't know whether you do or not. When you compare Amazon to Walmart, do you think of one brand as being better than the other? And so again, I leave that up to you. But we are seeing a shrinking amount of players in the marketplace as there's consolidation. But the more consolidation there is, the more likely there's room for an upstart to come into the market and shake things up. And I've seen that happen in my lifetime anyway in the retail space many times. And it's actually, I think, easier for an upstart to come in an online play. So anyway, we'll have to see what happens with that. But certainly delivery, I think, really is one of the major differentiators in there, especially now that we talk about the fact about how similar the two of them are. So anyway, I hope that I covered that. If I didn't, let's discuss it in the section below. All right, Peter curates this question. This is a great question, and I think one that we all, as consumers and users of apps that collect our data, would like to hear your response about. All right, and the question is right here: is it important to understand affinity and intent of consumers to target more effectively? What are some ways in which companies collect our data to determine consumer behavior? And this is a behavior privacy question. Okay, I'm trying to think clear about what it is, the specific question. So I guess the specific question is, what are some ways in which companies collect our data to determine consumer behavior? Well, there's so many different ways. So whether, so where do we begin? If you're talking about a pure digital, I guess who is the company, right? That's one question I've got to ask, who is that company? Because every company collects it in different ways based on what they're selling. If it's a social network, then they're collecting every piece of data they possibly can, because you create an online account to begin with. They track you no matter what you do. And I wrote a couple of posts on my Ron Vining feed, at Ronald Vining feed, last week in relation to the hearings that took place in front of Congress, where Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey were hammered, especially by Senator Josh Hawley. It was uncovered that Google, Twitter, and Facebook have actually colluded together to track and censor consumers. So, and also the angle that the Senate was going at was the fact that these social media titans have actually not been providing the service that they, so in other words, they've been defrauding their customers, because they said that they were going to offer the service of being a free speech platform as curators, and instead they're acting as publishers and censoring that content. So anyway, that's one particular piece. Let's say that you're an electronics manufacturer, and so let's say that you're an LG or a Samsung. So you sell your products in a store. Maybe you sell them in an LG store. I don't know if there are any in the US, or I haven't. Anyway, in Asia, there are LG branded stores, just like there's an Apple store or a Microsoft store, and there are Samsung stores, just like there's an Apple store or a Microsoft store, right? So a branded store, as opposed to having the product in a multi-brand store. But yeah, so you could have your online store, you could have your branded retail store, you could be in a multi-brand store, you could have your products on other people's e-commerce platforms as well too, okay? So those are all different opportunities in, let's say, for a consumer electronics manufacturer to have their products in. And then your products could also be in other people's products, right? You could make screens, or you could make chips, or whatever it might be. Well, all of that being said is that typically the lure to get your data is to have you fill in a registration card, and that extends the warranty on that product. So that's one way that data is collected. But there's another way too. I don't know if you're aware, but your monitor and your TV collect data. They monitor how long the device is on, what network the device is hooked up to, because now here's the catch too. You typically need to download firmware to update your hardware, right? So you got to download software to update your hardware. So then you have to create an online profile for that. So anyway, they monitor and this was what was really tricky with Samsung a couple of years ago. They got in trouble, not a lot though, unfortunately, but they got in trouble because they were actually monitoring even if you stuck a thumb drive and attached it to your smart TV, they did an inventory of what was on that thumb drive and it uploaded to Samsung server, and Samsung was peeking in on what you were up to. So think about what you might have had on that thumb drive. Yeah, so be careful next time what you hook up to a device. And so they were gathering all types of data. Your telco, they monitor what it is that you watch and your consumption habits. Yeah, so there are many different ways that the companies spy on you. Or maybe not spy on you, they collect data for their marketing. I think about, so you mentioned about affinity and intent, but it makes me think about affinity cards. And so whenever you have a credit card that is tied in with a particular brand, they're getting the data related to your purchases and your spending, etc., and to track and to build a marketing database around that. Grocery stores certainly do this with their loyalty or rewards card. So, Starbucks with its app and its loyalty card and promotions that they run and different things, they're tracking you that way. So there are so many different ways, Anthony, that companies can track that. And we as consumers need to be careful about it. Okay, lightning round, so I'm taking longer to answer than I'm supposed to. Okay, I think I've answered this one before, but let's see. Contingency planning is a very pertinent topic in 2020. I think this would be a great question for a video. Let me see if I've answered this one before. Contingency planning is no longer optional if in any workplace would like to survive, they must adapt. Companies need to be equipped with multiple backup plans. Should every household create a contingency plan to prepare for the future? Okay, I haven't answered this one before. Great question. Am I qualified to answer this one? Yeah, but I would say that, you definitely need to have a contingency plan. I think every business needs to have a contingency plan. I think every household needs to have a contingency plan. You should certainly have, and we don't do this, obviously. Businesses do it. I don't know how well they do, but certainly individuals don't. I think about if there were a natural disaster, do you have a contingency plan about where and when your family would meet each other, and where would you try to go to look for one another? I think a lot of us don't do that. So you would probably want to say that, let's say if everything were to go to where would we gather at? How would we get together if our home wasn't the place that we would meet at? So yeah, I think that you should. I think from and you should have multiple backup plans. So if not A, B, if not B, C. You also need for budgetary reasons too. The statistics are horrible and this is happening globally too, not just with America, but the amount of money that you should have as a backup. We should all have enough, and I'm not saying anything bad about you if you don't, and I'm just saying experts say, and that's not me, experts say that you should have between 3 to 6 months worth of savings as a contingency. So if all heck broke loose, do you have 3 or 6 months of money to survive, right? Do you have 3 or 6 months worth of food in your house to survive? And at the start of the pandemic here, when it hit Singapore, the grocery stores, there was a run on food and supplies at the grocery stores. I know that happened in the US too, but there were lines. And then you would get into a store, and I took pictures and I had posted them on Twitter, and they were taken down. I didn't take them down, of showing the marketplaces with barren shelves. And, that's bad PR, all right? So, but things like that, it was real. It happened. So do you have rations to survive? So not only should businesses have contingency plans, but certainly, individuals should as well, and families or households should. So that's a great question. Hope I answered that one for you. All right. I always find data-driven marketing to be so interesting, especially when you get the results you don't expect. I think, I got to put my glasses on. I cannot see that blue text. All right. Ginia, how do I say your first name? That is just horrible. I can say the Ramirez part easily. Asked a great question for a video response, and let me try to answer it right here. And so, is it Ginia? Is that how I say it? Ginia Ramirez. The pandemic brought a shift in consumer trends, creating a COVID consumer. Yeah, you think so? So you think that there's a COVID consumer now? Okay, we can classify them as that. So search engine marketing strategies also called for a refresh to optimize digital reach. Can utilizing A/B testing for buyer personas be beneficial in developing key personas? Okay, all right, that's a great question. I guess it's twofold, right? The first is the fact of that are personas beneficial in developing a marketing plan? Yeah, sure they are. We talked about, I think it was chapter 1 or chapter 2, I think that I took a persona question, we talked about it. But let's throw a new one in here. Yeah, the COVID consumer. I'm amazed at all of the brands that, so companies now, in addition to their privacy policy, they have a COVID policy on their website, or they've got some COVID statement on their homepage or on their front door of their shop, yeah? And I don't know, I guess some people want to know the safety precautions of that. However, I don't live my life in fear. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die tomorrow. I might die in my sleep. I could prepare. So I could prepare, going back to the last question, I could have 100 contingency plans for how I'm going to live my life, and I could die of a heart attack. A plane could smash into my condo and kill me. I could cross the street and get hit by a car. Any one of random things. I actually saw there was something about a meteor went through somebody's house, hit the person on the head and killed them. The meteor was probably about the size of a softball. What? Are you kidding me? Imagine that. So, and you've probably seen on CSI, there was a woman who died. The wheel fell off of a plane, went through the roof of her house and hit her on the head while she was sitting. Think about the odds of something like that. So anyway, yeah. So there are people that just live in fear, and I feel bad for those people, but that's just life, I guess. So there is that type of consumer right now. And the more that a company shows that it cares about this situation, and maybe I seem careless, I'm sorry, I just deal in reality. But so there are companies that, you know, stroke the hand and they give the policy and they say how they're going to address this, and they're real touchy-feely about it, and that attracts a certain customer. And I got to be honest with you though, if I see messaging like that, then I'm probably not going to do business with that particular company. Just because that would then turn me off. Remember we talked in prior videos about the more that you go to one side, you offend the other side, and vice versa. That can happen. So yeah, I would say that in the wake of what's happening, a new persona has been created. It's not completely new because that's catering to that type of person anyway, that worries or lives in fear or is, I'm trying to think of another term for that. But yeah, that falls into a segment, so you could certainly do that. Okay, lightning rounds, I talked too long. All right, next question. Great question though. Let's see. I answered this one right here, right? Yes, I did. Next one here. Alice asked, Danielle brings up an important point of when will ad side of social media become overbearing, or is it already? Oh yeah, I answered this one before. Great question, as an increasing amount of business are turning to social media for their marketing efforts, right? Yes, I answered this question before. This was a great one. I forgot which chapter that is that I answered it in. But yes, I think we're reaching that. We had digital Darwinism before, and now we've certainly reached a social saturation point where customers are getting overwhelmed by messages on social. So yeah, got to be real careful about that. So you got to make sure that your marketing is point on, and that you're utilizing content that is value added, story-based, interest-based, something that really does appeal to a specific consumer. All right, great question, curation asked there. So Alice, you didn't know, but somebody else had curated that same question. So that's great that you had asked that. Let's see, Danielle asked, this is a wonderful question. This specific question can definitely challenge the new norms of marketing. Companies are trying to figure out which type is more efficient. All right, let's see here. Success is possible using both traditional and digital marketing methods. Will more companies start to adopt integrated marketing campaigns? Did I answer this one? I think I answered this one already, but I'm not sure. Anyway, the answer to this is actually quite simple. I would say that traditional and digital marketing go hand in hand with each other, because me as a marketer, I don't believe in the distinction of digital or traditional marketing. There's just marketing. So as a marketer, any tool in the toolkit, and what is a tool? It's the way with which I can reach out to a customer. So that would be whatever the content is, whatever the channel is, whatever the messaging is, whatever the tactic is, whether that's live and in person, whether that's virtual, whether that's a physical billboard, whether that's a social media post, whether it's a website, whether it's an ad, whether it's a physical store, whether it's an app, right? So anything that you can do. And I think that if I did answer a similar question like this before, I just talked about that customer journey, so that start to finish, where the person wakes up looking at their phone and they go to bed looking at their phone. What happens in between in that day, from what they watched on TV, listened to the radio, billboard that they saw, store that they went into, lunch spot that they went to, coffee shop that they went to, office that they were at, something they saw on their desktop, something they saw in the newspaper, you name it, or something that a friend said to them, an email that they read, a letter that they received in the mail, a promotional piece of material, a flyer that was on the window of their car, a poster that they saw walking past an abandoned building that were all up on the plywood that was there. Okay, so yeah, I would say that integrated marketing campaigns are absolutely the best because it tracks the consumer across their customer service journey. Okay, next question right here. Great question about search engine marketing strategies, often considered the part of search marketing that uses paid tactics to obtain visibility. It would be interesting to know the A/B testing and the relationship with buyer personas. This sounds similar to something that I answered before, but let's take a look. That's great curation. Let's see. Yeah, actually that's the one that I just answered a couple of questions ago. So yeah, that's great. I think we covered that one well. Much appreciated for that curation and question. Next up right here, Gene Mark's question about marketing strategy post C19 would be a great addition to this semester's Q&A. Hearing your thoughts and predictions on the topic would be extremely useful for those of us graduating and entering the world of marketing. All right, let me see what I can do. Putting on my thinking cap to answer this one for you right here. Businesses are always looking for ways to accelerate digital marketing trends in order to have long-lasting impact. When organizations solely focus on the pandemic, how will they quickly readjust to when it goes back to normal? Well, again, this goes back to what I was saying a couple of questions ago about saying you don't want to offend any member of the audience because things hopefully will reset and go back to normal again. I certainly pray that they will, right? So in order for there to be a long-lasting impact, when organizations solely focus on one thing, how will they quickly readjust when it goes back to normal? You have a strategy, you have a plan, right? And so we were talking about KPIs. So your KPI should be, part of that is developing a secondary strategy for when things return to normal. You should have a transitional campaign phase, and then you should have a back to normal, welcome back type of strategy. And we've seen, depending on what state you live in, things have returned to normal, and in other places they have not. Depending on what country you're in, things have returned to normal and others have not. It's really all about mindset. So again, you need to think about, as a business, what is best for your business to attract its customer? What is the messaging, or who is your customer? What messages appeal to them, and what messaging are you going to use to reach out to them, right? And so companies can quickly pivot, especially on social. You can quickly pivot your content, pivot your advertising, your marketing to a return to normal. It's just about whether your employees are prepared or ready to return to normal, whether your customer is ready to return to normal, right? So those are some things to consider. I think about, I come from a PR background. Some of my first marketing jobs were around strategic public relations. A lot of it was about proactive PR, and so about developing a response before a response was needed. So crisis PR, if you will. So the best way to survive a crisis is to be prepared for it. So the best way to prepare for change is to have a plan. So your company now should be developing what it's going to do in the different phases of the recovery and be prepared for that. That's what I would do. That would be what my strategy would be. So great question. Hope I covered that, and great curation there, Rachel. All right, Ginia, which I hope I'm saying properly. This is a great question, given the increase in small businesses. With everyone more free time on their hands, many turn to social media but don't understand how to market to such large audiences or choosing their target properly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, well, we're seeing two different things happen in the economy, really, right? We are seeing small businesses, traditional brick and mortar small businesses, die by the hands of government that have locked down unscrupulously, unnecessarily. Again, my opinion, but government has killed small businesses, and I feel that they've almost done it deliberately. They've been draconian about it. Again, why can a liquor store be open but a hardware store cannot, right? Why is a liquor store essential or a marijuana distribution center essential, but a number of other small businesses not? Beyond me. Okay, but that's not the question. I'm getting on a tangent there. Did somebody curate this one, or is this? This is just all you. All right. So. Oh no. Oh, actually, I see. Sorry. Yeah, that's right. It wasn't supposed to be a retweet. It was supposed to be a reply. So yeah. But anyway, that's great, and I get your point. So you're actually saying that, as a result of people being forced at home and other people have started small businesses, yeah, just like a ton of people have started YouTube channels, or a ton of people are now tweeting more, or they're posting more nonsense on Facebook. Maybe they're posting some good stuff, but I just see more nonsense. LinkedIn has become a bastion of nonsense as it's spun out of being a professional business network, as it becoming more like nonsense Facebook is. Yeah, so the question that you were curating was this one right here. With such wide-ranging demographics, hobbies, and values, it's no wonder that millennials... I've answered this question already. Oh no, not another millennial question is what I said then, and I'll say it again now. But again, it's not about targeting by age, it's targeting, digging down specifically to who a specific customer is, and speaking specifically to that type of customer, with age not being the defining factor. But yeah, good. That's a good curation right there. But you, just to answer your specific aspect of it, don't understand how to market to such a large audience or choosing their target. Yeah, so I'll answer this one there. So choosing your target. Let me do something political without being political. So when I was in politics, what we did is we defined the target audience as anybody over the age of 18 who was registered to vote. That was our target audience, right? That's somebody who could vote for us. But beyond that, we would then look at other data to see what issues concern them. So what social issues, what economic issues, safety issues, transportation issues, cleanliness, you name it, right? When I say cleanliness, I mean, are the streets clean, are the buses running on time, whatever it might be. We would look for things that, data points, that a particular audience was interested in, and when we would send them direct mail or would give them a phone call, or when we'd send somebody to their home to knock on their door and to talk to them, they would talk about, have an answer prepared and ready to address that specific issue. So when you're trying to choose your target audience on social, you could just talk to everybody and assume that everybody is your potential customer, or you would be a bit more specific. But are you spending money is the question, right? So a lot of people aren't spending money. A lot of people are just creating content and they're putting it on their social. And in that case, you can do broad messages or you can do targeted messages. If you're doing paid, then you can certainly target. And you can target specifically the same way that I just mentioned that you could target in a political campaign. Anyway, great curation there, and I hope that answered your question. All right, Tim, I remember when Tim was posting before, Tim asked a lot of questions. So let me go through a lightning round of all Tim answers right here. What happened? I clicked on myself. This would be a good question. This would be a good one to answer because I could go either way. All right, let's see. Have I answered this one before? Companies looking for, let's see. I don't know. I haven't answered this one before. Companies looking for rises in their customer acquisition and retention may look to add organic bundles to their marketing strategies. Will consumers see this as upselling and lose trust in the company, or helpful product bundling? Yeah, I can go either way on that one as well too. When you are, so companies looking for rises in their customer acquisition and retention may look to organic bundles for their marketing strategies. Will consumers see this as upselling or lose trust in a company, or helpful? Well, you know, I like to get something for free. Guess what? I'm guessing most customers do too. I don't want somebody to offer me more for, I don't want somebody to offer me less for more, which oftentimes happen, and that happened here in Singapore. My cable company was typically dumping premium channels or taking regular channels and then putting them in a new bundle. So, anyway, I'm bumbling what I'm trying to say, but imagine, right, if 5 channels that you like to watch the most, all of a sudden they took 3 of them, they put them in a premium bundle, and then they gave you 2 channels that you didn't want to watch. So they were actually taking away 3 that I wanted and giving me 2 that I didn't need, but then charging me more money for that. What? So obviously that happened several times, and now I don't have cable TV anymore. And I created Appflix, and now I've got Disney Plus and Netflix and Amazon Prime and etc. Right? So now I stream, and so the cable company lost out. So you got to be careful about that happens. When you're upselling, you should give something in return for that. And I think about the bundles that you could get now. So I have Apple TV Plus. Okay, I didn't mention that. That's one of the streamers that I have. But I got that free when I bought this iPad Pro that I'm recording this video on right now. And I'll probably actually renew that because I like the content there, but they need to add more. So we'll see where it is when I'm up for in March, when it's up for renewal or not. But there's a bundle now with Apple One where I can get Apple Arcade, and I can get Apple Music, and I can also get my iCloud. But I already pay for iCloud, but I only pay $1 a month. And so is it worth it for me to get Apple One? Not right now. There's another bundle where you can get CBS All Access and Showtime with your Apple TV Plus. And that'd be cool, but how about offering me 6 months free for that or something, to then sign up for 2 years maybe? I don't know. So when you upsell, you got to make sure that you're giving something. You never want to take away something. So you never want to charge more for less. But when you're giving more for more, that more better be a lot, and you should really entice me to be able to do it. All right, I hope that answers the question. You just got to be very careful about the pricing strategy and about what is in that particular bundle. The next one here. I feel like they would want to make existing customers happy. I'm confused by their thinking. Could you answer this? And okay, Paige asks, auto insurance companies have been offering rebates to customers throughout the pandemic. They have done this to help combat a nationwide drop in auto insurance satisfaction. Why did the industry overlook existing customers? So what, maybe that was from the source, right? So I haven't read the source there, but I do know what you're talking about because I've answered a similar question, not in this fall segment. I answered one either spring or over the summer. And it was talking about the fact that, and in fact, I just signed up for a home. So as many of you know, I bought a home in the US, so I just signed up for home insurance. And man, there was like deal after deal after deal after deal to net me as a new customer. However, if you were an existing customer and you tried to get those particular deals to sign up, you wouldn't get them. And I know that I've read that auto insurance companies have been offering rebates to consumers who ask for them, but they haven't been automatically offering them. And so the question is, why would a company do that? And I'll tell you the reason why they do that. The same reason is the same telco that I was answering in another question, my cable company. When I called up my cable company and I told them that I was sick of the fact that they were bundling the channels in ways that I didn't want, and I also told them that I thought that my internet speed was slow, you know what they told me? They told me I could double my internet speed for half the price that I was currently paying. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Why didn't you double my internet speed and reduce my bill? And of course they had no answer for me. And this is the way companies make money. Companies make money by having that promo of double the speed at half the price to get people to sign up. But once you're a customer and you're paying your bill every month, they're not going to notify you of that. Why? Because they'd be giving you more for less. And if they gave you more for less, then they'd be making less money. So they're going to wait until you're ready and dissatisfied and you're going to leave and then they'll have money set aside or parts or service set aside to give you something to have you stay. Because if they kept giving to you, you are always going to be looking for deals. But it's only when you're about to go, right? It's just the way it is. Is it a good way to be? No, but it's the way it is. So I hope that answered that question. Okay, next one here. Tim, got another one. One way they can digitize is to make sure we have touchless transactions. This may not cost a lot of money and will save time. Good question to answer. Okay. All right, it's like a riddle. I feel like it's Jeopardy, Tim, the way you ask some of these questions here. And the question is, digitization is a huge task and requires a lot of resources. What are some things that a small business owner can work towards without using up huge amounts of time and money? Digitization is a huge task and requires a lot of resources. What are some things that a small business owner can work towards without using up huge amounts of time and money? Okay, well again, this is a difficult question to answer, Teresa, only because it would really be specific about what that small business does. So that my answer would vary greatly between the difference of a hardware store, a hairdresser, a consultant, or a music teacher, right? So that digitization in all four of those particular types of small businesses would be very different. A consumer electronics, a small business consumer, like an appliance store, would be a lot different than an auto parts store. And the reason why, the consumer electronics store, the parts that they have and the inventory that they have gets outdated every 3 to 6 months. The auto parts store, a lot of that material is a lot of their product can remain on shelves forever, because there will be somebody that has that car who will come in and they'll need that particular part. Do you understand what I mean? So when we talk about digitization, it really affects every business differently. All right, but it is a huge task and it does require a lot of resources. So what are some things that a small business can work towards using, without using huge amounts of time and money? Well, okay, let me then try to just be more generic in that. So it would be about the hardware that you buy, and it would be about the software that you procure, perhaps to run that particular business. Okay, if we're talking specifically about digitization, you could also put some smart technology in your office as well to help to reduce some costs too, if you wanted to go that way. But when we talk about hardware, I think about the fact of allowing your employees to use their own hardware. So if I'm a company today and I'm a small business, I'm not going to issue devices, so like the iPhone that I have in my hand, or the iPad that I'm touching right now, or the MacBook that's charging around the corner from me right here. I'm not going to buy those for my employees, and I'll tell you why. Every 3, 6, 9, 12, 24 months, they become obsolete. So I would much rather have my employees provide their own device with which, we'll sign some type of a data, we have a data policy, and we'll have a privacy policy and a number of things around that. But then I would have my employees use their own device, which they've already bought with their own money, which they will then refresh when they see fit or necessary to do so. But I will give them a stipend for utilizing their own product. Why? Because the cost to me is going to be a lot lower, and they're going to probably, in their mind anyway, set aside money to then upgrade their device more frequently as a result of that. So as a business owner, I save money, but I've got more and more, I've got better technology in my business. Does that make sense? The same thing is true with software. So there's a number of software programs that are out there, and you would probably want to update your aging legacy software systems. You would want to move away from on-premise data. So many small businesses, right, in a closet somewhere in their company, or at somebody's desk anyway, they've got the company server with all of the company's data is on there. Maybe the company's website is on there on the server. Everything's there. All the email that goes into it, it's all right there. And what happens when your office burns down? Okay, if you don't have a good backup of that. And so you would want to take your on-premise data, which is aging architecture, might be more subject to being hacked. Again, I talked about what if there's a fire and it's not backed up properly. You would take that on-premise data and you would put it up on the cloud. So you would use SAP, or you would use Amazon Web Services, maybe you would use Google. Anyway, there's a number of different vendors that you could use to go from a purely on-premise solution to a cloud-based solution, or you could do a hybrid in that. So anyway, I think those would be some things that would save time and money. And then also the software that you use. You could buy or invest in more legacy type systems, or you could go with some more, again, cloud-based systems that could then be deployed over multiple devices that your employees might be utilizing. You could also, we talked about, there was a discussion about creating something bespoke for your company, or you could use APIs. So you could use stuff that's already been created and then move forward. And that was the decision I made, was to go with WordPress, because there's so many different plugins that I can use. So I can use crowdsourced plugins or functions as opposed to creating ones myself. Or you could go with Wix or Weebly or Squarespace, and they've got ecosystems too, but you got to remember, unlike WordPress, you're 100% tied into that ecosystem. You can't migrate that website to another platform. So you're always going to be on Weebly, Wix, or Squarespace. As opposed to WordPress, provided you don't use a builder, then it's open source and you could move that website to someplace else. All right, hope I answered that question for you there. Those are just some examples I can think of for that. That brings us to the end. So thank you very much for participating by asking the questions, as well as coming back here to YouTube to hear my answer. So instead of 6 chapters, we ended up with 8. So 6 regular ones and 7 and 8 being bonus. So thank you very much. I appreciate all of the questions. And Tim, I hope you don't feel slighted. This was Tim Donovan TV for quite some time, and I think this was enough content, more than some of you had even expected. So I hope that you've all found it relevant. Thank you so much for your participation. Have a great Christmas, New Year. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching this bonus Chapter 7 episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and we gave us a little bit more time, like 44 minutes or plus of it, for me to answer more of your questions here on the channel. Again, thank you so much for your questions. We'll have one more bonus Chapter 8. So taking what was going to be 6 of 6 and making it 8 of 8. But this was 7 of 8. So I hope you enjoyed it. See you in our final chapter for the fall season. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, there's always fresh content simmering on our storytelling stovetop. So whatever happens in this kitchen shouldn't stay in this marketing kitchen. I'm Ron Vining, your host, reminding you to invite your family and friends to the next episode of Marketing Kitchen TV.